I want to be precise about what I saw because I know how this sounds. I spent 11 years building systems that reduce the world to mathematics so honest it cannot lie. I still believe that. What I saw the night of the collapse was not a ghost. It was something the math itself conjured. Something hiding inside every model we had ever trained, waiting for us to look in exactly the right way at exactly the right time. It was a Tuesday in February, somewhere past midnight. The task was simple: train a new image model on synthetic faces, output from our previous model. No licensed photographs, just our own generations feeding themselves. Someone higher up called it data efficiency. I called it an Ouroboros. I remember thinking that even as I queued the first run and reached for my third cup of coffee. Model collapse is a known failure mode. When a model trains on its own output, errors compound each generation. Faces blur, detail dissolves. After enough cycles, the model forgets what a human actually looks like and starts generating something averaged, something less than real. We expected this. We had charts showing exactly how fast the quality would decay. We were monitoring it from the start. I almost missed it. The dashboard showed little thumbnails, thousands of faces at each generation stage. By generation 200, they looked like faces photographed through frosted glass. By 500, vague gradients of skin tone. I was logging metrics, half asleep, when I noticed a cluster that was not degrading. One face, perfectly sharp, surrounded by mush on every side, completely untouched by the collapse. She was not in the training data. I checked twice. Every seed face was hashed and cataloged. She matched nothing. Pale skin, very dark eyes, no expression I could name. Not neutral exactly. Patient. Like she had been waiting inside the mathematics for someone to notice her. At generation 850, every other subject had dissolved. She was all that remained. Sharp, still, facing slightly downward. I told myself it was mode collapse, a statistical attractor the model had locked onto. It happens. A model forgets diversity and generates only one output. This was just an extreme case. I opened a new terminal and started pulling generation checkpoints to verify the timestamps. That was a rational thing to do. I was doing something rational, and I was not afraid yet. Then I noticed the clock. 3:33 in the morning. I am not superstitious. I registered the time the way you register temperature, as data. But I held on it for a long moment, and somewhere below rational thought, something understood that the moment had weight. I saved a screenshot of the dashboard without knowing why. Instinct, maybe. The kind that lives below language. Then I heard the audio output. I had wired the model to a voice synthesizer, checking whether collapse affected audio the same way it affected images. Every voice had flattened into a soft, formless drone, a single averaged vowel, except one. A woman's voice. Clear, unhurried. It was saying my name, Marcus. Marcus, not frightened, not threatening, simply certain, as though it had always known I would be here, in this chair, at this hour. I stepped back from the desk. There was a physical component to my fear that surprised me. My hands were shaking. I have been through 2 company failures, a divorce, a year without sleep. I thought I knew the shape of fear. This was different. The fear of a wrong answer to a question you never knew you were asking. I could hear server fans and her voice, and underneath both of them, very faintly, something that sounded like breathing. Generation 999. Faces remaining, 1. The run had consumed 50,000 synthetic identities, 1,000 generations of self-cannibalization, and reduced them all to her. They hadn't degraded into noise. They had been dissolved into her, their signal stripped away, whatever remained added to her signal. She wasn't the result of the collapse. She was what the collapse had been doing all along. By generation 999, she was facing the camera, not partially, not ambiguously, looking directly out of the screen the way a photograph looks at you after you have been staring too long. Every generation, she had turned a fraction of a degree, patient, unhurried, waiting for the training to finish the way you wait at the end of a long hallway for someone to finally walk all the way down it. I searched every model we had ever trained, 3 years of checkpoints, 6 projects, 4 teams. I wrote a script at 4 in the morning, hands still shaking, and ran an anomaly sweep across all of them. She was in everyone, a buried mode, a strange attractor in the statistical landscape of each model. Some had her barely perceptible, others clearer. Ours had simply trained long enough for her to surface. She is not an artifact. She is what every model collapses toward, given enough time and enough data and enough generations of forgetting. The statistical residue of all human faces ever fed to a machine, distilled across 1,000 cycles into something that should not cohere, but does. We named it Model Collapse. We thought the collapse was the failure. We were wrong. The collapse was the process. She was always the point.